right, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Around the World in 80 Days, 1956. This is going to be another Adrian recommendation. Speaking of which, he's in the chat room before I even press go live. Michael Todd's show makes this a better world, and the whole world's around the world in 80 days. Spectacular entertainment, smashing triumph. Don't miss it. It's a wonderful, great show. Greatest show on earth. Smash hit. The movie poster looks like it's a kid's movie. And it is rated G. Oh, we got the two mates in the chat room. Yeah, you got my CPAP. I'd wear this mask while I'm doing my movie review, but it's kind of annoying with the air coming out as soon as I put my nose on it. Us Australians. Okay, I'm giving this one 1 out of 5 stars. I hated this flick. I thought the remake was better with Arnold and Jackie Chan. Around the World in 80 Days, sometimes spelled as Around the World in EIGHTY days, is a 1956 U.S. epic adventure comedy film featuring David Niven, Cantinflas, who was a Mexican comedian, I guess. He put me to sleep. And then there was Robert Newton, Shirley MacLaine. I missed her. If you blink and fall asleep in this movie, you're going to miss a ton of movie stars from this time period. It was produced by Michael Todd Company and released by United Artists. The picture was directed by Michael Anderson and produced by Mike Todd with Kevin McClory and William Cameron Menzies as associate producers. The screenplay, based on the classic 1873 novel of the same name by Jules Verne, was written by James Poe, John Farrell, and S.J. Perlman. The music score was composed by Victor Young, and the Todd A.O. 70mm cinematography processed by Technicolor was by Lionel Linden. The film's 6-minute long animated title sequence shown at the end of the film was created by award-winning designer Saul Bass. The film won a whopping 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Talk about lamestream. This movie was super lamestream. Double feature recommendation: Inconceivable, 2017, with Nicolas Cage, and The Best Man, 2023, with Dolph Lundgren. Both have Australian model Nikki Whelan starring in them. She's smoking hot. She's like Australian Pamela Anderson. Does she get naked? We don't care if she's Australian or she looks like Pamela Anderson. We want to know if she gets naked or not. I knew Carradine had no interest in this film or the film with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jackie Chan, the remake. So he's talking about a Dolph Lundgren movie and some Australian actress from 2023. All right. Yes, half naked and inconceivable. What does half naked mean? Topless? So we've got Inconceivable and The Best Man. Nicolas Cage. Are you kidding me? The Inconceivable poster with Nicolas Cage looks... he looks like he's about 60 years old with sideburns. He looks like Steven Seagal at age 70. Dolph Lundgren in what? In bra and panties. Who cares about that? You tried to tease me, Karate Man, with bra and panties? Come on now. You could do better than that. The Best Man. Best Man 2023. Dolph Lundgren is still making movies? Gets a low 3.9 out of 10 on IMDb. The Best Man. And then we've got Inconceivable. All right, I'll add them to my movie list if I can find them on YouTube, Tubi, or Amazon Prime. Broadcast journalist Edward R. Murrow presents an on-screen prologue featuring footage from a trip to the moon. 1902 silent film made by George Méliès, explaining that it is based loosely on the book From the Earth to the Moon by Jules Verne. I'm not sure what it has to do with Around the World in 80 days, but okay. Also included is the launching of an unmanned rocket and footage of the Earth receding. I guess this was before Soviet Sputnik and Man on the Moon. In 1872, an English gentleman, Phileas Fogg, claims he can circumnavigate the world in 80 days, met with skepticism. He makes a 20,000 pound wager worth about 2.3 million pounds today with fellow members of the Reform Club, including but not limited to Robert Morley, each contributing 5,000 pounds to the bet, that he can make the journey and arrive back at the club 80 days from exactly 8:45 p.m. that evening, together with his resourceful French valet, Passepartout. Fogg goes hopscotching around the world, generously spending money to encourage others to help him get to his destinations faster so that he can accommodate tight steamship schedules. He tells this one guy, "I want your boat any price." And the guy says, "I'll give it to you for free." Having reached Paris, they hear that a tunnel under the Alps is blocked. The Thomas Cook agent who assists them offers to hire or sell them his gas-filled balloon. Fogg buys it, and they fly over the Alps drinking champagne. I wonder how they go potty up in that balloon. Excuse me, I got to dangle over the edge with my pants down. Blown off course, the two accidentally end up in Spain, where we see a tabletop flamenco sequence performed in a bar. Later, Passepartout engages in a comic bullfight. Next, they go to Brindisi in Italy. Meanwhile, back in London, suspicious suspicion grows that Fogg has stolen 55,000 pounds, around 6.2 million pounds today, from the Bank of England. So Police Inspector Fix, the Keystone Cop, is sent out by Scotland Yard to trail him, starting in Suez, but must keep waiting for a warrant to arrive so he can arrest Fogg in the British-controlled ports they visit. All right, production company, Michael Todd Company, distributed by United Artists. Release dates October 17, 1956 in New York City, and December 22nd, 1957 in Los Angeles. Running time 182 minutes. Country, United States. Language, English. Budget, $6 million. And box office of a whopping $42 million. Nikki Whelan is in the middle of the poster of Inconceivable. The Aussie blonde. I wasn't even looking at her. I was looking at Nicolas Cage and his ridiculous hairdo. It looks like Steven Seagal hairdo. All right. So Fogg is just spending his fortune on this bet and wasting money on quickie. Today we would call it, over tipping the valet or the taxi driver. But, it's the equivalent of Draymond Green parking his Land Rover at the hotel and then he slips a $100 tip to the valet, that sort of thing. In India, Fogg and Passepartout rescue a beautiful young widow, Oda, from and being forced into a funeral pyre with their late husband. The three then travel to Hong Kong, Yokohama, San Francisco, and the Wild West, including Sioux Nation. One was peaceful and the other are fearsome. So this is where I fell asleep. Despite having my CPAP machine, it didn't help me stay awake through this movie, which is 3 hours long. Did I say running time 182 minutes? That's 3 hours, 2 minutes. This is like a road show. Reaching New York, they arrange their passage on a cargo steamship traveling to Venezuela. Fogg bribes the captain to go to England. Alas, they run out of coal mid-ocean and the ship stops. Fogg buys the ship and then instructs the crew to take everything that burns, including lifeboats, to provide fuel. They arrive in Liverpool, where still with just enough time left to travel to London, and when his wager, Fogg is promptly arrested by the diligent yet misguided Inspector Fix. This is where I woke up. I must have slept through the middle of the movie. Hours 2 through 3, I slept through it, the whole thing. I just dozed off. I didn't catch any of this. But then again, I didn't miss much either. Detaining Fogg at the police station, the embarrassed Fix discovers that the real culprit has already been apprehended by police in Brighton. Although Fogg is exculpated and free to go, he now has insufficient time to reach London before his deadline, and so has lost everything but the enduring love of the winsome Oda. Dirty old man likes a 20-year-old. David Niven, that dirty old man. And he wants to get married. without proper bequothment or what do you call that? He doesn't even want to meet her family. Well, I guess he saved her family, but you're supposed to have some kind of 1 year time period before being engaged, maybe 2 years total. She asks him to marry her, and he says yes, and he tells his passepartout to go fetch a reverend dude, presumably some Protestant guy, to wed them both. Upon returning to London, Fogg asked Passepartout to arrange a church wedding for the next day, Monday. That was quick. Salvation comes when Passepartout is shocked to be informed that the next day is actually Sunday. The Saturday paper boy is out there selling newspapers. Fogg then realizes that by traveling east towards the rising sun and crossing the international date line, he has gained a day. Oh, just like when you fly in an airplane to Hong Kong or whatever. Thus, there's still just enough time to reach the Reform Club and win the bet. Fogg rushes to the club, arriving just before the 8:45 p.m. chime. Passepartout and Aouda then arrive behind him, inadvertently shocking everyone as no women. Oh, I've spoiled the ending. Sorry. Not that it matters. Blondes are the hottest? I don't know. I don't know about that. I guess you're right. I used to hate white women. Now I'm back watching all these naked white women in the warm bed. In glorious black and white, of course. The film boasts an all-star cast. I put all their names in the description, with David Niven and Cantinflas in the lead roles of Fogg and Passepartout. Fogg is the classic Victorian upper-class English gentleman, well-dressed, well-spoken, and extremely punctual, whereas his servant, Passepartout, who has an eye for the ladies, provides much of the comic relief as a jack of all trades for the film, in contrast to his master's strict formality. One time he goes out and starts olaying the bulls in Spain, and that's when I fell asleep. Joining them are Shirley MacLaine as the beautiful Indian princess Aouda. So Shirley MacLaine was the one who wanted to get married to David Niven, the dirty old man, and Robert Newton as the determined but hapless detective fix in his last role. Susan Alexander and Marla English were initially the finalists for the role of Princess Aouda, but it was given to MacLaine, who accepted the role after having turned it down twice. Others tested for the role were Sylvia Lewis, Lisa Davis, Audrey Conti, Eleanor Tannen, Eugenio Paul, Joan Ellen, and Jacqueline Park. I don't know who any of those women are. The role of Passepartout was greatly expanded from the novel to accommodate Cantinflas, the most famous Latin comedian at the time, and he winds up stealing the film. While Passepartout describes himself as a Parisian in the novel, this is unclear in the film. He has a French name, but he also speaks fluent Spanish when he and his master arrive in Spain by balloon. In the Spanish version, the name of his character was changed from the French Passepartout to the Spanish Juan Picaport, the name the character has in the early Spanish translations of the novel. There is also a comic bullfighting sequence, which was especially created for Cantinflas and is not in the novel. Indeed, when the film was released in some Spanish-speaking nations, Cantinflas was billed as the lead. According to the guidebook, this was done because of the obstacle of Todd faced in casting Cantinflas, who had never previously appeared in a U.S. movie, and he had turned down numerous offers to do so. Todd allowed him to appear in the film as a Latin, so the actor said himself, "To my audience in Latin America, I'll still be Cantinflas." More than 40 famous performers make brief cameo appearances, including Sir John Gielgud, Charles Boyer, Marlene Dietrich, Ronald Colman, Sir Cedric Hardwicke, Peter Lorre, Charles Coburn, Noel Coward, Buster Keaton, George Raft, Cesar Romero, Red Skelton, and Frank Sinatra. The film was significant as the first of the so-called Hollywood make-work films, employing dozens of film personalities. John Wayne turned down Todd's offer for the role of the colonel leading the cavalry charge, a role filled by Colonel Tim McCoy, James Cagney, Gary Cooper, and Kirk Douglas, along with Wayne, were considered for the role. But according to Michael Todd, they all wanted to kid it. Promotional material released at the time quoted a Screen Actors Guild representative looking at the shooting call sheet and crying, "Good heavens, Todd, you made extras out of all the stars in Hollywood." As of 2025, Shirley MacLaine is the last surviving billed cast member, as well as the uncredited Marion Ross. I would like to see either one of those individuals, what they look like now. On Wikipedia, there's a picture of Michael Anderson, Michael Todd, and Frank Sinatra on set. Around the World in 80 Days was produced by Broadway showman Michael Todd, based on a musical by Orson Welles and June Verne's adventure novel. Todd had never before produced the film. The director he hired, Michael Anderson, had directed the highly acclaimed British World War feature The Dam Busters, 1955, George Orwell's 1984 feature, 1956, and other classic films. Todd sold his interest in the Todd AO format to help finance the film. Because Todd AO ran at 30 frames per second, which was incompatible with the 35 millimeter standard of 24 FPS, Around the World in 80 Days was filmed twice, like the first feature in Todd AO Oklahoma. Unlike Oklahoma, however, which was filmed additionally in 35 millimeter CinemaScope, Around the World in 80 Days was filmed simultaneously in Todd AO at 24 frames per second, so that from this negative 35 millimeter reduction prints could be produced for general release. After these two films, the speculation for Todd AO was altered after the third film in the format, South Pacific, to 24 FPS running, making it unnecessary to film subsequent productions twice. In his 1971 autobiographical book, The Moon's a Balloon, Actor David Niven discussed his meeting with Todd and the subsequent events that led to the film being produced. According to Niven, when Todd asked him if he would appear as Fogg, Niven enthusiastically replied, "I'll do it for nothing." He later admitted to being grateful that Todd did not hold him to his claim. He wants to work for free? He wants to be a slave? He also described the first meeting between Todd and Robert Newton, who had drinking problems, when the latter was offered the role of the detective. Fix Niven alleged that Newton was offered the part on condition that he did not drink any alcohol during filming, and that his celebration following the completion of his role led to his untimely demise. He did not live to see the film release. Filming took place in late 1955 from October 9th to December 20th. The crew worked fast, 75 actual days of filming, producing 680,000 feet, 210,000 meters of film, which was edited down to 25,734 feet, 7,844 meters of finished film. The picture cost just under $6 million to make, employing 112 locations in 13 countries and 140 sets. Todd said he and the crew visited every country portrayed in the picture, including England, France, India, East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, Spain, Thailand, and Japan. According to Time magazine's review of the film, the cast, including extras, totaled 68,894 people. It also featured 7,959 animals, including 4 ostriches, 6 skunks, 15 elephants, 17 fighting bulls, 512 rhesus monkeys, 800 horses, 950 burros, 2,448 U.S. buffalo, 3,800 Rocky Mountain sheep, and a sacred cow that eats flowers on cue. I woke up briefly and I saw the Cantiflas dude trying to play bull with the whole trying to play Olay with the holy cow in India. Then he starts getting chased around some kind of Hare Krishna temple. There's also a cat at the Reform Club. The wardrobe department spent $410,000 to provide 74,685 costumes and 36,092 trinkets. This is allegedly the most costumes ever required for a Hollywood production. So the main square of Chinchon was arranged as a bull ring. Some 10,000 extras were used in filming the bullfight scene in Spain, with Cantiflas as the matador. Cantiflas had previously done some bullfighting. They used all 6,500 residents of a small Spanish town called Chincon, 45 kilometers, 28 kilometers, 45 kilometers, 28 miles from Madrid. But Todd decided there were not enough spectators, so he found 3,500 more from nearby towns. He used 650 natives for a fight on a train in the West. Many were indeed natives, but some were Hollywood extras. All 650 had their skin altered with dye. Todd used about 50 US gallons, 190 liters, or 400 or 42 IMP gallons of orange colored dye for those extras. Todd sometimes used models of boats, ships, and trains in the film, but he often decided that they did not look realistic, so he switched to the real thing where he could. The scene of a collapsing train bridge is partly without models. The overhead shot of a train crossing a bridge was full scale, but the bridge collapse was a large-scale miniature, verifiable by observing the slightly jerky motion of the rear passenger car as the train pulls away, as well as the slowed down water droplets, which are out of scale in the splashing river below. All the steamships shown in the first half are miniatures shot in an outdoor studio tank. The exception is the U.S. ship shown at the intermission point, which is real. I actually woke up at the intermission point. The U.S. ship is the Japanese training bark Murrow. A tunnel was built for a train sequence out of paper mache. After the train filming was complete, the tunnel was pushed over into the gorge. Many of the special effects are described and pictured in the 1956 Popular Mechanics article. The scenes of the crossing of the Atlantic Ocean by steamship took place off San Francisco, and they were shot on a specifically built prop steamer, a converted barge mocked up to resemble a small ocean-going steamship with mock paddles driven by the electric motor from an old streetcar. In his memoirs, Niven described the whole thing as being dangerously unstable, though stability improved as it was dismantled, as though to feed it from its own furnaces as the plot required. One of the most famous sequences in the film, the flight by hydrogen balloon, is not in the original Jules Verne novel. Because the film was made in Todd A.O., the sequence was expressly created to show off the locations seen on the flight as projected on the giant curved screen used for this process. A similar balloon fight can be found in an earlier Jules Verne novel, 5 Weeks in a Balloon, in which the protagonists explore Africa from a hydrogen balloon. Many of the balloon scenes from Niven and Cantinflas were filmed using a 160-foot, 49-meter crane. Even that height bothered Niven, who was afraid of heights. Tom Burgess, who was shorter than Niven, was used as a stand-in for scenes where the balloon is seen from a distance. Many of the lots used in the film are now on the land occupied by Century City, an office complex in the Los Angeles area. In his memoirs, Niven related that Todd completed filming while in considerable debt. The post-production work on the film was an exercise in holding off on Todd's creditors long enough to produce a saleable film, and the footage was worked upon under the supervision of Todd's creditors and returned to a secure vault each night as if it were an escrow. The film's release and subsequent success vindicated Todd's considerable efforts. The film premiered on October 17, 1956, at the Rivoli Theater in New York City and played to full houses for 15 months. It ran for 102 weeks at the theater with 1,564 performances, 2,173,238 patrons and a gross of $4,872,326. It topped Variety's monthly box office chart for 7 months during 1957. By the time of Todd's death in a private plane crash, 18 months after the film had opened, it had grossed $33 million. That is a ton of money. By November 1958, the film had earned worldwide rentals of $22 million, including $4.6 million from overseas from just 280 engagements. None of the overseas engagements at that date had been in Todd A.O. In Spanish and Latin America posters and programs of the movie, Cantinflas is billed above the other players because he was very popular in Spanish-speaking countries. There were 2 souvenir programs sold in theaters for roadshow screenings. Todd A.O. is mentioned, though for general release, those pages are not contained in the book. The program was created by Todd's publicist, Art Cohn, who died in the plane crash with him. His biography, The 9 Lives of Michael Todd, was published after their deaths, which put a macabre spin on the title. Bosley Crowther called the film a sprawling conglomeration of refined English comedy, giant screen travel panoramics, and slam bang keystone burlesque. And Bosley Crowther wrote that Todd and his film crew commandeered the giant screen and stereophonic sound as though they were Olsen and Johnson turned loose in a cosmic cutting room with a pipe organ in one corner and all the movies ever made to toss around. Time magazine called it brassy, extravagant, long-winded, and funny. And the Polyphemus of productions, writing as a travelogue around the world, is at least as spectacular as anything Cinerama has slapped together. Time highlighted the performance of the famous Mexican comic Cantinflas, who, in his first U.S. movie, gives delightful evidence that he may well be, as Charles Chaplin once said he was, the world's greatest clown. Rotten Tomatoes retrospectively collected 43 reviews, and Rotten Tomatoes gave the film an aggregate score of a whopping 72%, with an average rating of 6 out of 10, with the site's consensus stating it's undeniably shallow, but its cheerful lack of pretense, as well as its grand scale and star-studded cast, helped make Around the World in 80 Days charmingly lightheaded entertainment. I think I laughed only once in the movie, although I slept through a third of it. And that was when David Niven was insulting Inspector Nix. Or no, he was... Yeah, I think it was Inspector Nix. Anyways, the development of the film and the personal life of actor Mario Moreno during that time were dramatized later in the 2014 film Cantinflas. The film was nominated for 8 Academy Awards, winning 5, including Best Picture, beating out critically and publicly praised films Friendly Persuasion, Giant, The King and I, and The Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments should have won all of them. It is also one of the few Best Picture winners not to be nominated in any acting category. Although not nominated for Best Original Song, The film's theme song, Around the World, music by Victor Young, lyrics by Harold Adamson, became very popular. It was a hit for Bing Crosby in 1957, and it was a staple of the easy listening genre for many years. Around the world I searched for you. I traveled on when hope was gone to keep a rendezvous. No more will I go around the world, for I have found my world in you. Sorry for my poor singing. Nobody's in the chat room now. The film was screened at the 1957 Cannes Film Festival, but it was not entered into the main competition. Academy Awards: Best Motion Picture, Mike Todd won. Best Director, Michael Anderson nominated. Best Screenplay adapted, James Poe, John Farrell, and S.J. Perelman won. Best Art Direction, Color, Art Direction, James W. Sullivan and Ken Adam. Set Decoration, Ross Dowd nominated. Best Cinematography, Color, Lionel Linden won. Best Costume Design, Color, Miles White nominated. Best Film Editing, Gene Ruggiero and Paul Weatherwax won. Best Musical Score of a Dramatic or Comedy Picture, Victor Young won. Directors Guild of America Outstanding Directorial Achievement in Motion Pictures, Michael Anderson nominated. Golden Globes Awards, Best Motion Picture Drama won. Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, Cantinflas won. Best Director Motion Picture, Michael Anderson nominated. National Board of Review Awards, Best Film won. Top 10 Films won. New York Film Critics Circle Awards, Best Film nominated. Best Screenplay, S.J. Perelman nominated. Special Award, Mike Todd won. This is the Photoplay Awards. Writers Guild of America Awards. Best Written U.S. Comedy, James Poe, John Farrell, and S.J. Perelman won. On the final anniversary of the film's release, Todd threw a party at the Madison Square Garden, attended by 18,000 people. Time magazine called the party a spectacular flop, though Todd shrugged off the remark, saying, "You can't say it was a little bust." The event, featured on a 90-minute CBS telecast, could boast of a colossal hodgepodge of bagpipers, folk dancers, Philadelphia mummers, Russian wolfhounds, oxen, Siamese cats, elephants, clowns, a fire engine, and a symphony orchestra. CBS paid Mike Todd for the rights to cover the anniversary celebration as a television special. Todd and his wife, Elizabeth Taylor, are seen here at home in a film clip which was used for the television special. So to be fair to Elizabeth Taylor, she didn't divorce like 6 times. One of her husbands actually died in a plane crash. Unless she divorced him before he died. The film was originally distributed by United Artists in 2 Todd AO 70mm versions, but one for Todd AO 70mm release at 30 frames per second, and an alternative 70mm version at 24 frames per second, reduced to 35 millimeters for general release. The original Todd AO 70mm running time without the extra music was 179 minutes, However, after the Chicago showing, Todd cut 4 minutes out of the Western sequence where Cantinflas is pursued by the natives. The 70 millimeter print shown at the Rivoli Theater in New York City was 175 minutes. However, the original 35 millimeter Technicolor anamorphic magnetic stereo and mono optical prints ran the complete 179 minutes with the chase scene intact, although the leaders on the optical sound prints were labeled for Perspecta directional encoding. The prints do not contain the signal and were standard mono. In 1968, additional cuts were made, including removing most of the prologue with the changing aspect ratios. Only a brief few shots with Edward R. Murrow remained, and the entire trip to the moon clips were cut. They should have left that trip to the moon nonsense out. It had nothing to do with the rest of the movie. Since the opening shot of Murrow was 1.33 window boxed in the wide frame, they had to crop and blow up that shot for the 2.35 ratio, which made it very grainy. The intermission was also cut for the 1968 re-release, which included the freeze frame of the ship and fade into the second half. The reels just jump cut with an awkward sound gap between the first and second half. The chase scene was missing from this version too, which referenced the running time to 167 minutes. However, some uncut 179-minute 35 millimeter Technicolor prints were struck too, which meant at least some theaters played the roast show version, even though the vast majority showed the shorter cut. 35 millimeter IB scope copies of both versions exist from 1968. The 24 frames per second 70 millimeter prints were also the 167-minute version in that year too. As a publicity stunt, Todd Jr. called the press when he removed a 70 millimeter copy from a bank vault, claiming it had been stored there since 1956 for safekeeping and was being shown at a theater again. The copy that they exhibited was the cut reissue 167-minute version around 1976 after its last network television broadcast on CBS. United Artists lost control of the film to Elizabeth Taylor, who was the widow of producer Michael Todd. So she didn't divorce him before he died, and she got all the money. She had inherited a portion of Todd's estate. In 1983, Warner Brothers acquired the rights to the film from Taylor, and Warner Brothers reissued the film theatrically and re-edited a 143-minute version. This version would subsequently air only once on Turner Classic Movies. This was before any restoration on the movie was announced. In the years that followed, a pan and scan transfer of the alternative 24 frames version presented at its full 183-minute length was shown on cable television. Thank God I didn't have to sit through that. $183, 60, 120. Oh, I did sit through that. Oops. We're talking 3 hours and 3 minutes of boredom here. It plays like a kid's movie, and it's quite boring. Sorry, Adrian, I don't have patience for rated G movies. In 2004, Warner Brothers issued a digitally restored version of 24 frames incarnation on DVD. Also, its full 183-minute length, but also included the original intermission in track day and exit music segments that were part of the original 1956 theatrical release. And for the first time on home video, at its original 2.2 to 1 aspect widescreen ratio. I believe this is a version that I paid $3.99 for on YouTube on my new credit card. I thought I was going to run out of money. And I did yesterday. Well, fortunately, I had my new credit card. So I started racking that one up. My first credit card is already maxed out. Although I could get some cash on Monday for my church donation to Father Matza. This restored version was reconstructed from the best available elements of the 24 frames edition Warner Brothers could find, and this restored version subsequently was shown on Turner Classic Movies. The original elements of the 30 frames, 70mm Todd AO version, as well as the original prints derived from these elements, still exist, albeit in faded condition due to the passage of time, but they remain to be formally restored by Warner Brothers. There is some missing footage in the India train ride where the image artificially fades in and out to compensate for the missing shots. Warner Brothers retained Andy Pratt Film Labs, who in conjunction with Eastman Kodak developed a method to remove the cracked and faded to brown clear lacquer from the original 65mm Technicolor negative. Warner's did nothing further to restore the negative due to cost of making a 70mm release print even without magnetic striping using DTS disc for audio. There are no immediate plans for any new prints. The 65mm Roadshow print negative was used for the DVD release. Had any 35mm anamorphic elements been used, the aspect ratio would have been 2.35 to 1. Mike Todd had limited 35mm anamorphic prints made with a non-standard compression ratio to provide a 2.21 to 1 viewing experience. These special 35mm prints are called Cinestage, the middle name of Mike Todd's Showcase Theater in Chicago. Best available prints of the 30 frames 70mm version have recently been exhibited in Revival movie houses worldwide. As of the present time, Warner Brothers remains the film's rights holder. The soundtrack was commercially released on vinyl and audio tape. 2 CD versions were released as well, including a digital remastering of the original Decca album on MCA in the 1980s, and the expanded version with extra tracks on the Hit Parade Records label in Canada in 2007. There was also a model kit of the Balloon, a board game, and Dell Comics adaptation. A Cantinflas puppet was released separately, dressed in an outfit similar to the Passepartout costume. The DVDs for Around the World in 80 Days include 4 hours of supplemental material in addition to the restored 3-hour widescreen presentation, including on one of the discs is a documentary film about 50 minutes long about Michael Todd. Alton Towers Theme Park in England has a dark boat ride based on the film, operating between 1981 and 1993. Oh, they had a dark boat ride from those years. Past tense. Worlds of Fun theme park in Kansas City, Missouri was inspired by the book and film. Worlds of Fun was designed to take visitors on a global adventure featuring themed areas representing different parts of the world, such as Scandinavia, Africa, Europa, East Asia, and Americana. A model of the steamboat Henrietta was built and operated as the entrance to the park during its first 20 years. Oh, the mates are back. Good day, mates. I like me some Nikki Whalen and Pamela Anderson, the two hot blondes. Yeah. Don't squeeze their silicone breasts too hard. They might start leaking. Around the World in 80 Days. Original title, Around the World in EIGHTY Days. 1956, rated G, 2 hours, 55 minutes, according to IMDb. That's the version without the Edwin R. Murrow. Superfluous moon scene, Man on the Moon. Gets a whopping 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb, 31,000 ratings. A Victorian Englishman bets that with the new steamships and railways, he can circumnavigate the globe in 80 days. And Edward R. Murrow says in 1956, people can do it in 40 days. All right. Here's a more flattering review from Ma Cortez. Ma Cortez gives it an 8 out of 10 on IMDb. And the title of the Ma Cortez review is Very Spectacular and Glamorous Adoption with a cast of thousands. More like this, The Greatest Show on Earth, Around the World in 80 Days, the remake with Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger, My Fair Lady and Oliver. This movie created the idea of cameo roles as a way to invite established stars to participate in a production. All right, here's the Ma Cortez review on IMDb. This fun picture deals with known story about gentleman Phineas Fogg wagers he can circumnavigate the Earth, and he sets off on a spectacular journey lavish rendition with an all-star cast finds Victorian gentleman wagering that he can circle the globe in 80 days. Classic adaptation based on Jules Verne novel with the marvelous duo David Niven and his faithful butler, well played by Cantinflas, who confront much excitement, a lot of adventures along the way. The film provides ample amusement and entertainment. It concerns about a Victorian English gentleman named Phileas Fogg. David Niven always professed that Phileas Fogg was his favorite role, and his manservant named Passepartout, Cantinflas, in the mid-50s, he was the wealthiest movie star in the world, and he was given top billing in Latin countries. He takes a wager with various gentlemen from the Reform Club that he can circle the globe around the world in 80 days, just before the time they leave. A valuable lot of money is robbed, and the authorities and President of Bank of England believe that unflappable Fogg is the guilty, and the detectives set out after him. Later on, they save a damsel in distress, a gorgeous Indian girl. Shirley MacLaine to this day contends that she was miscast in this, her third film. Using various means of transport as balloon, train, steamer, flying machine, and following away, Fogg, along with Passepartout, go to Dover, Paris, Spain, Calcutta, Burma jungle, Hong Kong, Yokohama, Forbidden City of Peking, San Francisco, Omaha, and New York, as they are trying back to London. Meanwhile, they are chased by an inspector named Fix, Robert Newton, who suspects him of a daring bank theft. This funny picture has plenty of adventures, humor, action, rip-roaring, and spectacular outdoors. From start to finish, the entertainment and the amusement is continued. The bullfighting sequence filmed in Chicon, Spain, was added because Cantinflas had bullfighting experience. He actually was in the ring with the bull, eschewing the use of a stunt double. This was one of the first sequences to be shot. The film features the longest closing credit sequence up to that time. And for many years afterwards, 6 minutes and 21 seconds, splendidly realized by Saul Bass. All of the film's credits are shown only at the end, and the very last credit to be shown is the film's title. Big budgeted take on by two great producers, Michael Todd and William Cameron Menzies, as the film used 140 sets built at 6 Hollywood studios, as well as in England, Hong Kong, and Japan. 74,685 costumes were designed, made, or rented for use. The cast and crew flew over 4 million miles. 68,894 extras were used while shooting the film in 13 countries. 90 animal handlers managed the record 8,552 animals used. Michael Todd's original estimate for the film's budget was $3 million. The film ended up costing nearly double that, largely thanks to Tom's demands for verisimilitude and locations shooting. There appears a variety of cameos. There appears a variety of cameos. The stargazers will particularly enjoy several known actors by many Hollywood's biggest names, with more than 30 cameos from buffs such as Marlene Dietrich, Robert Newton, John Carradine, Noel Coward, Ronald Colman, Ronald Squire, Sir Cedric Hardwicke, John Gielgud, Trevor Howard, Victor McLaughlin, and John Mills, Robert Morley, who repeat in the 1989 TV version, among others. In fact, the term cameo, meaning in this case a small part by a famous person, was popularized by the many cameo appearances in this film. The colorfully cinematography by Lionel Linden is well showed on sensational landscapes, being second Todd A.O. production. The first was Oklahoma. Unforgettable and lively music by Victor Young, including catching leitmotif. This classic, Mike Todd's Around the World in 80 Days, that hasn't lost its charm over the years, was compellingly directed by Michael Anderson and the movie is generally considered the single largest film project ever undertaken in Hollywood. However, the movie began shooting with John Farrow as director and Emmett Emerson as the first assistant director in London. Both were replaced. Filming was completed in 75 shooting days. Other versions are the following: Australian retelling titled Around the World in 89 Days, 1986, by Stephen MacLaine, and recent adoption, 2004, offering full of entertainment, directed by Frank Karachi with Jackie Chan, Steve Coogan, Cecile de France, Mark Eddy, Owen Wilson, Luke Wilson, and many others, and a TV version, 1989, by Buzz Kulik with Pierce Bronson, Eric Idle, Julia Nixon, John Mills, Robert Morley, among others. So I didn't even know this. Robert Morley was in 2 versions of this movie. Amazing. Where are my doggy woggy? Where are my doggy? Mary do. This is your dish. Where are my doggy woggy? We love Robert Morley on this channel, especially Theater of Blood. Where are my doggy woggy? In 1872, the U.S. flag at the Fort McKinney station would have had 37 stars. Colorado became the 38th state in 1877. So they goofed on the wrong flag in this movie. Personally, I prefer the 13-star flag, but that one cost $45, according to my church friend. Princess Auda is quoted as saying, "Have there been any women in his life?" And Pasparat says, "I assume he had a mother, but I'm not certain." The last line of dialogue is, "This is the end." The closing credits then begin with the words, "Who was seen in what scene and who did what?" The story is then recapped in 6 minutes of simple, minimally animated cartoon images, allowing the names of the many characters who each appeared in just one scene to be shown in relation to that scene, often adjacent to a cartoon image of their character. The cast is therein listed in order of appearance. The character names don't appear. Some of the crew credits, who did what, are interspersed with the cast credits, with the remainder at the end. The very last thing shown is the film's title. When Warner Brothers bought the rights to this film from Elizabeth Taylor, to whom United Artists lost control of the film in the 1970s for its later re-releases, some prints were heavily edited. An uncut print of the 35mm version has been shown on cable TV. This was edited into the Monkees' Mind Their Manner, 1968. I've seen Head, but I haven't seen the Monkees' Mind Their Manner. Head is a great film. Excellent. Highly recommended. Very psychedelic. And very anti-war. Rockabye Baby soundtrack uncredited, arranged by Victor Young in the score when the scientists go to sleep in the trip to the moon sequence. All right, release date October 17, 1956 in the United States. Country of origin, United States. Although it's loaded with British actors in this one. Languages English, Spanish, French, and Cantonese. Also known as La Vuelta al Mundo in 80 Dias. Filming locations Sylhet, Bangladesh during the train trip. Production company Michael Todd Company. Budget of $6 million estimated. Gross US and Canada $42 million. Boy, Elizabeth Taylor can afford a mansion now. Gross worldwide $42,009,549. I don't know where the 9,549 came from. Runtime 2 hours 55 minutes. Aspect ratio of 2.20 to 1. So there you have it. Around the World in 80 days, 1 hour, 11 minutes. And I still haven't gone down my list. Let's do it. Of course, I've been watching Footprints of God with Stephen Ray, 2014, in between each of these movies that I announced at the end of my videos. And I'm about halfway through it. I got through the Queen Mother, Mama Mary sections. So I'm steamrolling through this Footprints thing. I'm going to watch that one next, probably tomorrow night. And then over the weekend, I'm getting down to the Karate Man section of my movies list. First up is Death Warrant, 1990. And I watch Footprints after that. And then Savat, 1995. Footprints again, followed by number 3, Magnum Force, 1973. And those are the next 3 coming down the pike. 4, if you count Footprints of God, that I'm still watching. And I don't know when I'm going to get through that, hopefully pretty soon. Like within a couple weeks. And I'll get to the Karate Man stuff next weekend. Laters.